Hello, hello. So the plan for today is to cast the third place set for the Imperial bracket of Div C, followed by casting the finals between Ghost and Lakanther live for around 1400 GMT. So with that having been said, let's move over to the drafts for our third place set between Lonzo Wall and Andao. So the third place set is a bit different from the rest of the sets in the finals in that it's a best of 3 rather than best of 5. So it will be a bit of a shorter set than the rest of the finals, but hopefully we still see some pretty good games. And we're actually going to see home maps go through, as neither player elected to ban the home map of the other. So bit of a gentleman's agreement between the two to allow for the home maps of Arabia and Shoals through. Nice to see. Means that we should have some pretty interesting games with the favorited maps. Bunch of bands. Boundary Ball. And the first map is going to be African Clearing. And moving on to the Civ draft. Oh, this one doesn't have the DLC civs in it. The most recent ones, that is. So we won't be seeing any of the South American civs, it looks like. Khmer Vietnamese banned by Alonso, Wei Mongols banned by Andao, and Hun's first pick. So that's probably going to be played most likely on African Clearing, with the Hunnic Horse being an amazing bonus for that map. Get all the herdables. Will this be true? No, it's going to be Bengalis for Andao. Armenians, I think, is like a third or fourth pick for him. Oh, he loves Bengalis for Shoals. I'm hoping we get to see lots of elephants there. There's a snipe on the first 2 picks. That's kind of interesting, and we're going to see Chinese and Portuguese banned, so the Bengalis will most likely be played on Shoals. Probably lots of elephants, too. So that'll be fun. Tatars. Interesting pick, Tatars, because I don't think like they're the strongest on most, but this could be a bit of a counterpick to the Huns, but Berbers are a much better counterpick to Huns that play somewhat similarly. But the Tatars do have a very nice unique unit for Nomad maps, as well as the herdable bonus. Spanish. That's also an African clearing civ. Lonzo does still exist. Logo is wrong. Oh. There we go. Why? Nope, that's the wrong button. Yeah. That one. The funny part is I'm probably going to have to change that on capture as well. Hey, at least the starting screen was correct. Magyars and Urchins, both very good Arabia civs. So most likely I'm anticipating seeing those on Arabia. Casting's been not too bad. I enjoy it. I enjoy getting better at it. Same as a lot of things. I enjoy the process of improving, and this is something that's definitely very improvable. Whoever wins 3 to max Z0 in the finals is mine. What? Oh, Otter asking Ghost something. Okay, so my predictions for this is Huns for African clearing, Urchins for Arabia, and I'm gonna say Spanish for Shoals. And then for Endau, it's gonna be Bengalis for Shoals, Magyars for Arabia, and Berbers for African clearing. Red Phosphor on Shoals. Maybe. Anyways, let's move over to Capture Age. Change the logo. No, that's the wrong button again. Turn off that. Turn on that. There we go. And with that, we shall begin. And I was incorrect for the civs on African clearing. Well, partially correct. It is going to be Berbers versus the Spanish. So Lonzo using his Spanish pick on the Nomad, which makes a lot of sense. They are very good here. So, and now gonna be TCing up in the northeastern side next to some fish and some deer. Meanwhile, Lonzo is almost smack dab middle in the map, so could cause issues later on when it comes to wood, as his wood is going to be right next to the TC, which is quite nice. But then he has to move out to these sparse tree lines, which are not quite as bad as they look because they each have 200 wood. But at the same time, it could end up being a bit of a difficult transition to wood later on. And everybody in the chat is talking about mentals, which, I'm going to be honest, not many of us have great mentals. It's rather rare to run into people who have super strong mentals. So Camel Archers are good against Conks once they're masked. And that's going to be the real thing between those two units, is that Conks, amazing at low numbers. However, they're not, as soon as the Berber player starts to have a large mass of Camel Archers, then they start to be countered by the Camel Archers. But at low numbers, the Conks will still win. So if you have like 3 versus 3, the Conks are going to win. If you have something more like 6 to 9 Camel Archers versus the same amount of Conks, the Conks start to lose. So it is going to be a matter of numbers, as the Camel Archers scale better with numbers than the Conks do. Mostly because of the overkill. So there's going to be a sweet spot where the Conks are going to do much better right away if they both go for it, go for their unique units, but the Berbers will eventually come out on top if they survive. Right now, we just have a very calm Dark Age, and most likely this will end up being a couple fast castles. Though we could see feudal pressure. Feudal pressure on this map does work. As to go to Castle Age, you do need this gold. To get the castle, you do need the stone, and the TC doesn't cover that. So you would have to small wall it, and then it could be a situation that is rather tenuous to hold to get your castle up. But for right now, we're just taking the hunt. And now going towards the outside wood line, which is not something that Alonso can do very easily, as the outside wood line is just too far away from his TC. Second boar coming in for Andau. And Lonzo's about to get his second boar as well. But yeah, this should be a pretty good pair of sets today, with, honestly, some very entertaining matches that I've been I've had the privilege to cast for this division, so I am looking forward to this. And now going for, I think, this spore way out here. So that'll be a bit of a longer trek back, but with the Berbers, it's actually relatively safe still because of the extra movement speed. So it's not too bad. Or rather, too difficult to bring in. Not even that dangerous, actually, because of the movement speed. Now, it does seem that Lonzo did get the TC up a little bit faster than Andao did. Because neither player has Loom, but Lonzo is up about half a Vil. And Lonzo has transitioned over to some shorefish over here, which is very strong. This is the fastest gathering food source in the game, is villagers on shorefish. At least it's the fastest source for villagers. I think deep fish by fishing ships is faster, but it's all very comparable. And fun fact, villagers actually gather slower from deep fish than they do shorefish, for some reason. And we are going to see Andao go to gold, so this does look like it's going to be a fast castle for Andao, possibly. Meanwhile, this is likely feudal pressure from Lonzo. So we'll probably see a scout play. That is the most common feudal play for this map. Also, Lonzo has not yet sent any villagers towards gold. So this does look like, and is going to bring in another boar as well, which is another nice source of food for a scout rush. So it will end up being up to Andao to defend from... No, Ghost, you're actually incorrect on that. Deep fish is gathered slightly slower than shorefish by villagers. Don't ask me why. But it is actually slower for villagers to gather deep fish than shorefish. I will stand on this little tiny molehill and fight you on that. I'd rather win that argument than our set later on today. But as Lonzo hits the feudal age, Andao is only just clicking. So has to survive for 2-ish minutes before and get the buildings down before he can click Castle Age, and there's another 2 minutes and a half to go up after that. So Andao has a long time to survive against whatever feudal pressure Lonzo creates. Ghost is checking now. I look forward to hearing back of his success. So, not starting with a scout does hurt the scout rush sometimes. Actually, no, it just hurts the scout rush because it takes longer to get to 3. And you only really want to strike out with 3, since that's when you can kind of fight the villagers without any fear. I guess I'm wrong. Or it changed. One of the two. Well, now I have to win the set against Ghostwriter to reclaim my honor. It very well could be. This is still open for... Oh. We're just going to lose the one there, so not as bad as it could have been, as the... That's also so annoying when they poke through the wall there. But we do have 5 villagers on stone. We have clicked up to the next stage, and not really too much damage. One villager is still damaged, don't get me wrong, but it's not catastrophic damage. And is just going to wall to the TC, make it very difficult for those scouts to get through. Okay, for a moment I was wondering if we were going to start going knights in Castle Age instead of going for the castle now. But no, we are going to go for fletching, not foraging. And I imagine the castle's going to go right here, right in front of the TC, to defend the gold, and make sure that this wood line stays nice and protected. As the only resources that Endau is going to need for Castle Age is the wood and gold for the camel archers. Now, he will want more food in order to get his upgrades for it, but Lonzo has a very clean build behind, as he is also going up to Castle Age now, and could send a bunch of villas to stone if he wanted to try to go for the castle. But doesn't look like he's sending anything to stone right now. He's actually adding another scout, so there'll be 7 scouts on the field. And I'm wrong about the castle position. The castle position is going to be off to the left. Now, there is still gold over here that can be taken after placing this castle, so it's still good in that sense. But I still think it would have been better here. You just secure your front gold, you keep your wood line completely safe. Right now, this TC means nothing to these scouts if they wanted to run through. But the castle will complete without any issues, and we can now begin production of camel archers. Now, we still don't have bodkin, and we won't have bodkin for a little while, as we don't have... Actually, we are adding another TC. But we do not have the food to produce villagers right now. So this TC, I guess, for a bit of extra protection, as well as being able to gather the shorefish and the gold. And the one camel archer is going to come over here and harass these scouts now. Been repairing that palisade wall for a long time. Oh, hey Javasy, how you doing? And Lightcap does come in, which makes sense. We do have 8 scouts. Have TC'd the stone and wood back here, so probably looking to go for castle eventually. But as discussed earlier, the conks do well when it's low numbers versus low numbers, which means you want kind of an even timing. Right now, this is giving a chance for the camel archers to build up numbers, and once the camel archers have numbers, the conks are going to be much less effective against them. Now, as things are, we're not going to be able to afford Bodkin for Endau for a while, especially with the 2 TCs. We want to keep those running. They're just not going to have the food to do so. But even with just fletching, these camel archers have a base attack of 7. So they're already at 8 damage a pop, plus the bonus damage they get against conks and other cav archers. And actually, we've moved off of stone, so we're not going to go for the castle. Which makes a lot of sense. We're actually going to go a lot heavier into cav. We're building another stable. Against Berbers, I don't think that's necessarily the greatest of ideas most of the time. Now, we don't really have much else going for us right now, unfortunately. We lack crossbows and even a possibility to go for, and skirms run into the same issue of we die to camels if he ever goes to camels. But it is going to be straight camel archer, so skirms could have been useful. And in fact, with the fast castle, you can kind of expect that it's just going to be camel archers for a long time. villager count has caught back up for Andao, so he's been a bit more efficient with his TCs than Lonzo has. Camel archers to harass the villagers on the shorefish. Knights coming back to defend. Honestly, I'd love to see these light cap just thrown to this wood line. Like, these aren't your main unit. Like, yes, they're still army, but get some value out of it. Kill a bunch of villas, force a bunch of idle time, make it hard for Andao to have lots of wood that he needs for his camel archers. Now, that's what I think he should have done earlier, because, again, these don't really scale that well. Like, they're for against monks, and Andao does not have a monastery. You want to stack up more on these knights if you're going to stay with a cav to try and zone out the camel archers. But the camel archers are already getting to a pretty good number. Still don't have Bodkin, which does hurt them, but honestly, we could see Bodkin not too long, especially if we get a few more farms down. Or just use the market and buy it, because we do have extra wood in the bank right now. Could sell a bit, buy a bit, and then get Bodkin, which would really help these camel archers. And a third stable for Alonzo. We're going to go for massive knight numbers. Three TC as well. Third TC being added for Andao now. And this is the worry, because now Andao's going for the stable. And with the cheaper Berber camels, in conjunction with the camel archers that he already has, this is a very problematic army for Lonzo to deal with. And honestly, the later the game goes, the more I favor Berbers, as the Berber tech tree is just much better than the Spanish one when facing each other. Because you think about what you want against camels. So you want pikes against camels. Well, yes, Spanish have fully upgraded pikes, but what do you do against this guy? What do you have versus the camel archers? Oh, you have skirm. Well, we just named 2 trash units. What do you have for a gold unit? You don't really have a gold unit that you want to make against the camel archer. Because they play like CA, so Knights is not the best against them. Like, Knights can be used against them, but they're not great, especially not as the mass increases. And then we also have camels, which just shut down the Spanish stables. So, I think this matchup gets a lot more difficult to play as the match goes on. So I'm not sure I favor Lonzo playing for the long game, which is what he looks like he's doing. Fourth TC for Andao now. Production is slipping a little bit for both villagers and camel archers, but we're getting back on top of that. Unfortunately, the cavalry for Lonzo just hasn't been able to do anything, and we've invested both armor upgrades already. And these camel archers just continue to roam around, just causing a lot of idle time. As well as killing some villagers. We've already killed 7, 8 villagers for Andao versus the singular vill that we got back in Feudal Age for Lonzo. And with ballistics, most of these villagers will die. Not if Andao wants to run, though. So Andao's just going to run away, so only loses the 1 vill for that one. And we're going to try to just create this nice choke point and just sit here as we just kill all these cavalry units. Now, I think that Lonzo wins the... No, he doesn't. It's one of those things, if they were all knights, maybe we could have taken that fight, but with it being mostly light cav, we still lose that fight pretty handily, unfortunately. So now we're down to TC, down in army numbers, and down in villagers by almost 20 villagers at this point, so it's looking pretty bad for Lonzo. And the score is reflecting that, almost 1,500 behind. Gonna go for a defensive castle, just to try and defend ourselves against these camels, these camel archers. But it looks like Andao is sailing up for Imperial Age and will likely click it in not too long. Very strong gameplay from Andao for this first game in the series. Hey Andao, how you doing? I'm doing well. Casting your third place match. So this first game's gone really well. We can continue casting after this. Yes, I will. I won't be casting in the next few weeks because I'm going to Ontario, which is a 20-hour drive away, and I'm going there for 2 weeks, so you won't see too much of me for the rest of the month, but I do plan to continue casting afterwards. Yeah, I'm going back to see some family that I haven't seen since Christmas. So, yeah, the plan is to finish up the Imperial bracket today, and then probably cast Castle and Feudal once I get back home. So, probably closer to around the 20th, casting the Castle bracket, which I know is a fair bit after the tournament, but unfortunately my holiday just happens to be right when the AoE Leagues was finishing, unfortunately, so... But I will make sure that the castle bracket does get cast. It will just be done later in the month, rather than right after or during the tournament. But getting back to the game, Imperial Age is on the way for Andao, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Lonzo calls it shortly afterwards. As unfortunately the Spanish are nowhere close to Imperial Age, and their tech tree struggles against the Berbers. So, I imagine after Imperial Age we'll probably try to take a fight before Andao gets all his upgrades, and then depending on that fight, we either resign right afterwards or we continue to try. So, I imagine this will be a fight. This fight is probably not going to go Lonzo's way. Again, these Camel Archers are very, very strong. And after seeing how this fight goes, and not even going to wait for the fight to end, we're just going to call the game because we already see the writing on the wall. Okay, so that's... I need to change what this says at the top because it's a best of 3 and it's not spec, it is AoE. Leagues, Div C, third place. Set. Get back to this, and Andao took the first game. Okay. Just gonna back out towards the draft, and it was Spanish for Lonzo, which lost, unfortunately, versus the Berbers from Andao, which took the first game. Okay. And now for game 2 on Arabia. And my prediction for this was Urchins versus Magyars. So now we'll switch back over to Capture Age and find out that Endau changed its color, which is no, you're going back to red. And I am once again only half right on the civs, as Endau is going to go with the Tars, not Magyars. Well, Alonso will go with the Urchins. It does always feel good to be Spanish on Nomad maps. The Conquistadors can be an absolute pain, but on that map, Alonso decided not to go with Conquistadors, probably fearing the matchup between them and Camel Archers, as Camel Archers do counter CA, which Conks do count as. But I still think you go for Conks and then just say, well, in low numbers I win, in high numbers I lose. I'm going to try to beat you before you get to massive numbers, which I feel would have been the better play, or diving with his light cav in early castlage and get a bunch of damage at the cost of his scouts. No, the distance definitely did not help the Spanish at all. But overall, I don't think it was what caused that game to swing. I think it was the choice not to dive with the light cav early castle age for the woodline. Because there wasn't enough on the CC to prevent getting to the woodline. AoE 2 is more popular than AoE 4. I'd like to get into one, but prefer the one with more community. I can't really speak for AoE 4, unfortunately. It's not a game I've played, so I don't even know what community there is for it. Javasty might, because I think Javasty played a tournament for AoE 4 not too long ago. So he might be a better one to ask that. I'll let Javasty answer that, because I am not informed enough to answer that. But pretty standard start for both. Going for... Actually, no, we have 4 on wood for Endau, so a bit heavier on wood than normal there. Standard 2 on wood for Lonzo. So this is probably an 18 or 19 pop scout build for Lonzo. I am not quite sure what Endau is going for, because I'm not familiar with the 4 on woods. So these builds, I'm not too sure about. Could be archers, I think? Archers, no mill? We'll see if I'm correct on that. It could also be a variation on scouts. I'm not entirely sure. It could also be man-at-arms. Man-at-arms is the only 4 on wood I actually know. But Tatars is not a civ I think about for that playstyle, but we are going to see the early barracks, so I could be entirely wrong, and we will be seeing a man-at-arm play from the Tatars. Which is kind of interesting, because they only get the first armor for their infantry. But that still means they're fully upgraded in Feudal Age. So, who knows? Drush? Yeah, I can see that. Drush makes sense. I can also see Man-at-Arm into Archer. Because Man-at-Arm into Archer is quite strong. You don't normally get upgrades for your Man-at-Arm afterwards anyways. It just, to me, feels a bit strange for the Tatars to play into. But you get extra food on your on your herdables, so it's not bad. And this is more than likely going to be Man-at-Arm play. But we are losing the scout. pull away before we lose the scout, but we do take significant HP damage, unfortunately. Barracks coming up for a scout timing, as predicted, and it is going to be 18 pop for Alonso. Yeah, the uptimes are very important for Man-at-Arms, because it's a bit slower in Dark Age, because you normally go for 20 pop, is 20 or 21 pop is what I normally go for a Man-at-Arm push. We're actually even going to be able to sneak out the 4th Man-at-Arm, which is very strong. Now, part of this is because we have neglected to go for the berries. We're going to save that for Feudal Age. But the predicted stable is there for Lonzo, so... And scouts for urchins are very, very strong. They attack 25% faster. So... Very strong scout rush, and it's going to be... Is it going to be archers or skirm follow-up? Okay, that's just the roof of that building. Gonna poke at the villagers. In fact, might lose a villager. We're a bit slow to fight back, so that is probably gonna be one villager dead. That is one villager dead. Is it gonna be two villagers dead? Probably not. But one villager down for Andao, as the Man-at-Arms are now hitting the stable, trying to deny the production from Lonzo. Still have not made anything from this archer range, and part of that is probably because we pulled our gold bills to make it. And, well, yes, we do want for production. I think making sure that it gets built and still getting gold in, I think would have been more important. That way we could instantly create from it, rather than have it sit idle for a while. And we are actually going to get arson to try and burn down this stable. But we're going to lose our reinforcement man-at-arm. And there are now 4 scouts on the way towards Andao's base, and we are still wide open. Blacksmith coming down to upgrade our archers, but... What? The wood line. And the quick walls do come in. Just gonna small wall in our wood line. And the scouts are just gonna knock on the door. What? And the game is called, apparently. Let me check to see if there isn't a second wreck for this one. Because that one felt like it cut off. And there is, in fact, not another set for it. Okay then, so it is on to game 3 then, as that is going to be a victory for Lonzo on Arabia. Using the urchins against the Tatars. Alrighty then. Lonzo takes his home map. In a weird fashion. Yeah, I wish I could see the chat afterwards. That would make things so much clearer, but that was a surprising ending, because I did not think the game was over yet. I think it very much could have been played on. Now, don't get me wrong, Andao is not in a great position, but it's not a lost position yet. But that being said, we'll move on towards game 3. And game 3 is going to be where we use the Huns for Lonzo. So, interesting. I was not actually predicting the Huns to be used here. And the predicted Bengalis here, that one, I called it as soon as I saw it. So, I was half right with every game this set. Huns is a Chad pick, especially when you're expecting to face Bengalis. It would be great if that was an option for capture age, but I understand why it isn't. Because it stops being recorded as soon as the game ends. So it's not part of any recording at all. Which makes sense, because you don't want to bloat your game just because somebody decided to stay in the lobby, in the game, for, we'll say, an hour afterwards just chatting with the other guy. Now, that's an exaggeration, but you don't want to bloat files for no reason like that. So, it is understandable, if unfortunate, for the casting side, because I have no idea what kind of conversation would have happened after that one. Probably a bit of, why did you resign? But it is what it is, and we're on to the next game. Now, Andao does love his Bengalis on this map, and I expect to see lots of elephants if we get to the late game. So, I am looking forward to that. And the one thing I will continue to point out as I have each time I've seen this map, this is the better version of this map that has the deep fish. The base DE version does not have these deep fish, it is just shorefish in the middle, which makes it a lot less valuable to take during Dark Age, Feudal Age, etc. And because of this deep fish, people will actually play for water in Feudal Age sometimes. I still think it's better to wait for Castle Age, just because you have this sea tower, as well as the changes to the dock behavior. Recently, with it shooting arrows when you garrison the fishing ship, it's just so much easier to defend. So, but with the Huns, I'm curious how Lonzo wants to play this, because your main unit is CA. CA and Knights are the two things that Huns do really well. Now, they can play crossbow as well, but they're not great. They're not as good at it as CA. And that's also more of an Arabia thing, where they're kind of really open tech tree, and Castle Age can really help them. Here, this game almost always ends in Imperial Age. It either ends in Castle Age if you deny both golds, or it ends in Imperial Age because it's contested on at least one side. So, and Huns will struggle in that late game versus Bengalis, I think. Because Bengalis, their normal weakness is that they're pretty weak in the early game. They don't have a great Castle Age, they don't have a great Feudal Age. This is mostly because they have a weak stable in Castle Age, and specifically it was only in Castle Age, because once you get to Imperial Age, you should have the eco for the elephants, but they lack knights and they lack camels. So they don't have power unit outside of the elephant, and the elephant is countered by monks very easily in Castle Age, because it's difficult to have a lot of elephants, as your eco just isn't big enough to support that. And Lonzo's actually walling up here, going for some early walls. Now, obviously, you can't wall this shoreline, but you can dock block it. So, if instead of a palisade he put a dock here, this would be fully walled. But going for the early walls, maybe wants to boom in Castle Age. Not too sure of what his plan is going to be. And now going up at 22 pop. Normally you get loomed right as you're about to go up, so I'm expecting him to go up now, following this, and he does have the res for it. And it looks like it's going to be a bit of a feudal water play. So we're going to try and snipe some of these fish from Lonzo. Now, Lonzo hasn't done what I would recommend doing on this map, which is you send your fish out to this deep fish over here. That way you have the two deep fish underneath your tower for later on. Now, these can still be ranged by galleys and such, so it's not perfect, but it's at least more protected than this one is. But the unfortunate part about this stock is that it's not good for, like, any deep fish. So, about the only value from this stock is going to be the military production. So, likely to see a galley opening to harass these fish. And I think Lonzo's going to go for a fast castle. He has not added another dock. Though he also hasn't added the mill yet. It is on stone. This looks like it's going to be a fast castle Tarkin rush. Interesting. We know our opponent wants to go for the late game Bengalis, and we're just going to go, okay, let's go for a Tarkin rush. And honestly, we're actually adding another dock. I am actually surprised with this dock now, because this is a very late dock to add. But maybe this is because we forgot the, Lonzo's pissed at the sea tower and honestly, fair, because this sea tower is on the shoreline, so you can hit it with Tarkins. Tarkins can take it down. Market going down now. Scout being chased. Now we just need the blacksmith. Blacksmith, and then we can click up. Because we're just going to sell probably a bit of stone, actually. Because we have enough stone where we can sell 200 stone and still have enough when we get to Castle Age. But so far we haven't made anything with this extra dock, so I'm not a huge fan of this extra dock so far. And we are going to sell 100 wood, 100 stone. And we are unfortunately going to lose a fishing ship. Four galleys, and we've started to add more fishing ships for Andao, seeing that our opponent has not gone for any water. We're still not on gold at all for Lonzo. And also, he may think this is walled, it's not walled. You can snake your way into this base still. Also, you can still walk around the shoreline there. But Castle Age will be in much faster for Lonzo. And I'm very curious to see if this Tarkin play pays off. Certainly not a Sith I would expect to go for their unique unit in this situation. But they do have more Pierce Armor than Knights. And if you're expecting to mostly have to just deal with the TC, the bonus against buildings and the extra Pierce could be amazing. No, this version of Shoals is one of the best. Honestly, any Shoals version that has these deep fish is a good version of Shoals. So, send the whole village through the middle. That would be hilarious. Just drop the castle right here on the face. Unfortunately, we're not going to see that. We're going to see the castle placed at home. And we're also going to work our way towards a stable. That way we can get our bloodlines upgrades, we can get our husbandry upgrade, and make sure that these Tarkins get fully upgraded. Now, even though Tarkins have more Pierce Armor, we still need at least the first armor to deal with the TCs from our opponent, as they do have fletching. We are keeping an eye out to see for an expansion on this side. Castle is up. But we were late to gold, so we've had to sell a bit of stone and food in order to make sure that we're getting our Tarkans out. And husbandry is our first upgrade. Oh, and the scout is going to delay the market going up. Now, scout will lose this, but it does delay Endau from the market. But Endau had enough buildings without the market, so he's able to click up beforehand anyways. Yeah, the castle is not great. I'd much rather see it like towards this gold, because this is your gold right now, and if Endau has anything over here, you're kind of pushed off of it. But at the same time, this hides it. And if we're going for a sneaky rush, you kind of want this hidden. So, I do understand why it's there. It's not great, but I do understand it. Because this rush either wins or loses based on how sneaky it is. Because if Andau knew it was going to be a Tarkan rush, he's going to set up his base to defend from a Tarkan rush. So, we're just waiting. But it's one of those things, like, you have to wait, but you can't wait for too long. It's a very delicate balance there. And this sea tower is obnoxious against ships. Well, how much bonus damage do they have against buildings? All buildings 8. Castles 10. Stone defense is 12. Oh yeah, your fish is bringing in a massive amount of food. Not to mention you have many more vills, because you've had much better LTC time. Like, there's a lot of sacrifice from going for this. So, but again, this is him wanting to win with the surprise factor. Did he see your TC? No, he didn't. But these Tarkans are going to still wreck this anyways. So, we are full-walled for Endau. The home base is full-walled. But, these are Tarkans. They will get in pretty quickly. This TC is denied. And now these are going to rotate over. It's easiest to go through the dock. Dock or this palisade. This palisade. Okay. We are not in time for the gate. We need to take down this TC. Elephant is out. Can the chunker stop this? The elephants are not yet in enough numbers to deal with this, but we do now have 3 of them. 4 of them. We're just gonna try and make it so the TC can't shoot arrows at us while we fight the elephants. Or are we gonna try and take it down? We're gonna try and take it down. TC goes down. But we're now taking a bunch of damage, and there's now 5 chonkers on the field. Quick walls coming in. Quick walls not quite in time. We are going to take villager losses, but the amount of elephants on the field will now shut down these Tarkans, for sure. But the Tarkans have the mobility, so they can just kind of run away and kite these elephants. But it's still 30 to 39 villagers. Lots more damage still has to be found just to even out this game, let alone the amount of TCs that are on the field for Endau still. He still has 2 TCs to 1. I don't think this has worked out quite yet. It is very close, though, because there's still the fishing ships. The fishing ships are still bringing in lots of food for Andao to allow him to stay in this game. If it wasn't for those fishing ships, I think this game would have been over, but we have 9 elephants, with 2 more being added. And these Tarkans cannot fight those elephants. We do have a lot over here. We're going to try and take that down the market. Honestly, the market really needs to go down. And the 3rd TC being added out on this gold. Honestly, yeah, this has worked out pretty well for Lonzo, considering. Honestly, if Lonzo was also like adding villagers still, I think this would be a much better push. Because he got some damage, but the big thing is that he is basically doing a foster at this point and not making villagers. And against this many chonkers, we're going to struggle. But we are going to take down the stables, so with stables going down, we're going to have a hard time making more of these. But I think this is already enough to put an end to these Tarkans. These Tarkans are not great in melee. They are very much a raiding unit, but we do have monks, or rather a monk, which will be useful for conversion, but Andao is once again on 3 TCs, adding more villagers. And being resourceful and taking this hunt as well to make it so we're not seeding a bunch of farms and wasting a bunch of wood that way. So we will lose an elephant to the monk. But the monk will go down to the elephants. And there it goes. But there is another monk now. This could start presenting a difficult... Oh, no conversion in. But resistance for the Bengali is coming in real clutch there. Yeah, these Tarkans really need to snipe, start really sniping the buildings, because otherwise they're not getting the damage that they need. But, could go for the TC now. Elephants are behind. One of the things we could actually do is kind of scoot our way out to here. And if we get this, this could be really bad for Andao, as there's a lot of villagers over there. But we're not going to make it out, and we're going to continue being harassed by these elephants. And we're going to do a bit of quick walling just to force the pathing into the elephants. Just a little bit more damage. Elephants out here defending. This TC could be sniped. Doesn't go down on this pass, but we could just run away and return on a different pass. As the chonker numbers continue to grow, just chasing after all these Tarkans. Unfortunately, this game gets further and further away from Lonzo the longer this game goes, as we are down to 29 villagers. And we're going to try and add in another monastery, as basically our only hope is to get all these conversions. And once again, not getting that conversion is massive, as this villager will now also go down and not complete the monastery. Tarkans can snipe the TC now. TC will likely go down here. TC has gone down, but the elephants are now here, so we're not actually going to get too many villager kills. And unfortunately, this game is now pretty over for Lonzo, as even with this army of 20 Tarkans, it can't fight these elephants. Now we do have yet another monk, so we're going to try and get another conversion. Blocking with the Tarkans. Another conversion coming in. Conversions do come in this time. So 2 elephants are now fighting for Lonzo. Lonzo has to win this fight in a convincing manner, otherwise it's done. And I don't think this is going to be convincing enough. I think he does win the fight, but I don't think the fight is won convincingly enough for Lonzo to win this anymore. Not when we have another 9 elephants in behind. And a great delete there. Denying that elephant from transferring over, and this monk will now not have a conversion. And now we will lose this fight. Faith now, sorry, not Faith, but Devotion now in as well, and Lonzo calls the game. Okay. And let's go back to the draft. And Andau was victorious on Shoals using the Bengalis versus the #1 pick of the Huns, leaving Andau as our 3rd place victor, with Lonzo taking the still very good 4th. So I am done a bit earlier than intended, mostly due to how short Game 2 was. Hey, you, and I'm pretty sure you won every game of Shoals that I saw, so that's pretty solid. And I think you used Bengalis basically every time as well, so I don't know why your opponents kept letting you have them. Great to watch, but surprising nonetheless. I have about a half hour to fill. They're supposed to start at 14 GMT. So if anybody has like one game that's relatively short to cast, I can probably do that. But yeah, if you want to pick the best one of those, I'll cast that. Either the best or the shortest, one of the two. Because the nice thing about Hyper Random is that there's no draft for it, so. You can pick between them, whichever one you'd rather me cast. Just realized that I'll probably have to go through Dark Age at the very least at 2 times speed. Just to make it go by a little bit faster. A random maxi ladder game. True, but it's a bit easier because Robotic has actually already given me a game, so I am just gonna use that. So just give me one moment to get that into my save game folder. Alright. Switch this to Capture Age. Capture Age. I'm not gonna bother changing the casting thing since I'm gonna need. Actually, I'm gonna set it up for the next set. Might as well. Casting. Maybe leak div C. Fine. Imperial finals. Imperial finals. And it'll end up being best of 5 for the next one. Return to map. There, that way I don't have to think about it later on. Also, I have to get rid of the AoE logo because this is hyper random. And is hyper random of Romans versus Turks. I'm actually going to change robotic to blue, so that's a bit easier to see. Oh, mode signed you up? So it wasn't even by your own choice. Lots of deep fish in the corners. And this deep fish has a lot of food on it, too. Both of them being at 445. Elephant has a fair bit as well. Be less than normal, but still about the same as a normal boar. Are there any other ones? Also, we have saboteurs. That's hilarious for the scout. Water buffalo, a little bit less than usual. This boar, same as the elephant. So, pretty good for food overall. Oh, the turkeys don't have very much food. Wood, some thick trees around the TC. And lots of food on the berries. Frank's would have been amazing here. And it's even one of the starts where you start with vision on the pond, so this should definitely be a water opening for both to go for this. Is there more fish in the bottom? There is. Oh, that's unfortunate. There's only 5 up here. Oh wait, no, there's a bit more. Oh, does this thing not know? Captrix doesn't know how to count because there's only 5 here. Somehow this equals 5. Don't ask me how, Captrix. Whereas down here, I'm just gonna count because Captrix doesn't count very well. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 5 deep fish versus 8, and all those deep fish has 445. So, like, these are really impressive ponds, and the shorefish is not as much because it's 73 and 200. So, not nearly as much shorefish, but who cares when you have all those deep fish? And we are going to see a dock from robotic. So, going to take advantage of that fish. 6 on wood. Bit more than what you need per se, but still fine. But yeah, this is a very lucrative pond to have, and it does not seem like our red player is going to be going for that. And I'm actually going to speed up for the rest of the Dark Age. I've had my fun exploring the map. Oh, are we going to go for it? I think we are. Based on what you just said, Robotic, I might be keeping it in 2x speed for a while. So, 2 going on 3 fishing ships for blue. And still only just the first one coming out for red. A bit slower to it because of the mill, but with how much food is on these berries, it's not too bad still. How much is... less gold than normal on that one. Fair bit more gold than normal on this one. Not very much stone. Regular amount of stone. A little bit less than the average amount of gold. Bunch of gold there. These deer have about the average amount of hunt. Okay. Oh, this is a good stone pile. Alright, so we're on the way to Feudal. Feudal is about to be in for Robotic. What the fuck? Why did that blow up? Oh, did the Saboteur from Red. No, that's a great use from that. I need to pause and go back to that. Give me a moment. It was right as we kind of hit. Alright. Oh, he even went around to... Oh, that was amazing. So good. We're gonna go back to 2 times speed. But we've just implanted that idea in Robotic's head. We're gonna slow down as this one comes in. And this is gonna be even better. I don't think we got more villas. I think we actually got maybe 1 villa less. But we also got a house. So not quite as good, especially since we could have come over here. And that would have been even better. We would have gotten, like, all the villas. But overall, relatively equal trades between the Saboteurs. But unfortunately for Robotic, he did not actually have enough wood to immediately replace his wood line. So, had to resort to getting a bunch of straggler trees. Was it 6 to 6? It was pretty close. Oh, it is. Just straight up 6 to 6. I'm pretty sure just losing 6 villas upon hitting Feudal Age would mess up any build, let alone yours. Now, you do have the advantage of still having your berries, which the red player does not. It should also be noted that you have more fish back here than red does. So, you have a lot more natural food available. Now, you don't have the wood to place the buildings that you're going to want to place. But I think long-term you're still in a fine position. As red is floating a ton of food. Honestly, if he could get a market up, he could just hit Castle Age. Or rather, go for Castle Age. Which I think is what we want as well. Because we already have the resources, we just don't have the wood to place our buildings. Back to 2 times speed, because it's only 15 minutes before they're supposed to start. Now, I do think... Now, they did agree to wait for when I was ready for them. So, I will cast this full game, and then we'll go for the finals. But for now, we're just gonna enjoy Robotics gameplay. Against FJ. And Robotic is faster to the Castle Age as well. And going heavily on stone, so we're going to go for our nice Janissary play. Meanwhile, we have 3 scouts just chilling in the stable. Castle on the way for FJ as well. Good amount of walls coming down for Robotic. We're going for the really big walls. Which honestly would be heavily punished if these scouts did come forward. But we do hit Castle Age without being disturbed. And we're not too far away from our Castle Age. Could buy the last bit of stone, but we're just going to wait for it to come in. Stable for Robotic. Interesting. And I do not like that castle. Like, just put it on this hill. Or near this gold. Gold is very important. You could delete these houses, place a castle there. That would be fine. This doesn't really do much for you that this castle wouldn't already. A second stable as well. Well, we don't have that much food left anymore. So I'm not a huge fan of the double stable. But we did get the entire wall up, and we're going to go for more gold. And this cavalry is just too slow. Scouts with the Jannies and castle protects the wood as long because you're struggling for it. Yeah, but that's why you play a castle here, because then you have this wood line as well, and it protects your main gold. It's not that I'm disagreeing with you about the fact that your castle is here, even though I am. It's more that there's just better positions to achieve exactly what you want. Now, these camels are quite nice for dealing with this, but we just need more Jannies. Because Jannies can deal with cavalry pretty well, so long as they have good numbers. But the castle is going to get some nice fire on them, which is nice. But our opponent is 3TC. So going much heavier into eco, so we're actually in a position where we need damage. We can't just hold a position. We need the damage. So we're going to move out with our camels and our Janissaries. I think we need to keep them more in one group, because we don't have that many, because we aren't at constant production. I do not like this. Not when you still have all this deep fish. So the advantage we had of just having more deep fish, gone with this. Collect all the deep fish first. Like, save your wood, get all the deep fish. Like, as you notice that you're running out, sure. But also expecting infantry to be somewhere. Infantry isn't great against Turks, though. The Janissaries are great against infantry. Like, yes, there's no bonus damage, but they deal so much damage. Also, no! That fight was so bad for us. But this fight is actually very good for us, so... about as good a trade as it could have been. Imperial on the way for the Romans. Only 60 villagers. So, there's been a fair bit of idle time for these TCs. Imperial Age on the way for the Turks as well, with a much more efficient 1 TC. We are still behind by quite a few villagers, but we had a pretty good amount of ILTC on our 1 TC versus the 3 that Red has. Red is also housed, and is building houses with a 1 bill. So, both players will hit Imp. The Turk player has 13 hand can. Like, the army for Red is much better right now. Like, if Red was pushing with this army, in a much better situation than Blue is. Just because of numbers. Yeah, you do have a fair bit of idle time, unfortunately. Now, a lot of that was, like, while you were housed. Like, you were building houses with 1 villager. But we are getting the upgrades, which is very good. And the villager lead is now very, very significant. And it's not like we have any siege from Blue to try to bring this back into a parity. But we don't have Last Army yet for our cap, which is a very important upgrade. Archer armor coming in for these Janissaries. We're going to try to poke our way in, but we're not going to be able to make it in through these stone walls. Honestly, what we really need to be doing is spending this bank. And you know your opponent's basically full walled, so getting some siege to try and push this, be that siege ram, would be very good. Not a great fight here, mostly just because we didn't have our entire army. If we had our entire army here, we win this. Because look how many of those went down. We lost a lot of Janissaries, which did a lot of damage, but we didn't have all of our army there. When you're taking an army against all of his army, or what you believe is all of his army, you want as much army as you can there. But we have a nice castle, adding another stable, we have good eco behind. We just need some siege. We need some siege to push all these buildings and just drive this all backwards. Because he has Janissaries, and that's it. Yeah, that's mostly it. If you were, especially in Feudal Age, when in Feudal Age you made 4 scouts, and they just sat in your stable. If those went forward, these walls were not completed at that point. You kill at least 2 villas that are walling, and then he's forced open for the rest of the game. I do like that Communitenses. Oh, no, it's Ballistics, not Communitenses. But we're going to take this fight here. Unfortunately, this is that point where we have a huge mass of Janissaries. But we do take out the bomber cannons, which is good. I advise against making light cav while you still have gold when you're facing Janissaries. As you really need the tanky aspect of the tank and the attack of the Cavalier. Especially with their unique tech, if you can get it. Although, taking the fight with these Scorpions wouldn't be too bad. Like, if you could combine them both and attack at the same time, that would be pretty good. But you have to remember that these are super cheap on gold for the Romans. So you're not using your gold. You have a bunch of villagers on gold, but you're not using it. You need to make sure you commit to an army that uses your resources. And these are a great unit to make against this, but you need that better front line. And honestly, look how much damage you've done to his army. Because if all these light cav were Cavalier instead, I think you actually win all these fights. You win this fight. And this is probably the fight that really determines the game. Because now the ecos are pretty even. But Robotic has 3 bomber cannons, which can shoot your Scorpions pretty easily. And Janissaries, even though they're not the greatest against Scorpions, they do still kill them relatively quickly. And if you're wondering why we're still casting this at 2x speed rather than at 1x, even though lots of stuff is happening, it is mostly because I'm going to be casting AoE League's Div C Finals at 1400 GMT. Or thereabouts, because they're probably going to wait a little bit for me to finish this cast. Some really good shots from these Scorpions, though. But we just have no army, and look at this gold bank. Because we're making almost nothing that costs gold, unfortunately. We are switching to Cavalier now, but I think it's a little bit too late for us. We're probably just a little bit too far behind in army at this point. Look, the knowing what to spend your resources on and keeping what your spend high to match how much eco you're bringing in is a difficult skill. It's not easy, especially if you're, for example, used to making heavy Scorpions, but with other civs. These things cost almost no gold to Romans, so it can be difficult to realize that sometimes. But at this point, we don't even have the production anymore, unfortunately, and this is just a very good death ball from Robotic. The other thing we could have done is tech into skirms. Skirms, I know, don't seem very smart with Romans, seeing as you miss Bracer, but they are a counter unit to Janissaries, so if you want to make a trash unit, that is still very good. Alright. So that actually ended almost right on time. I am going to take a very short break to go to the washroom. And when I get back, hopefully, Ghostwriter and Lacanther have started their draft. So I'm gonna go back to my starting screen and play some music for whilst I am taking my break. But I'll be back quite shortly. All right. All right. I am back. All right. Enjoy the gym, robotic. Uh, enjoy your feudal finals right now, FJ. And going to start drafting, closing this now. I need to make sure that I get the draft. I have the draft. Thank you for the follow. Okay. Spectator. And already we have seen that Lacanther and Ghostwriter are both going for their home maps as their first picks for Migration and Lab Madness. And Ghostwriter actually going to go for Arena as well. And Lacanther's second home map pick is going to be, I would guess, Valley. I think suits his playstyle fairly well. No, it's going to be Arabia. Okay, so Arabia, Arena, going to ban Compass. Want to get rid of that water against Ghost. Meanwhile, Ghost going to ban Valley. What else is Ghost going to ban? Probably African Clearings, I would think. No, it's going to be High Tides. And the last ban for Lacanther, which will decide the admin pick, is going to be going to ban Bounder Ball. So African Clearing is going to be our admin pick. Okay then. Okay, so moving on to the Civ draft. Still waiting for the players to ready up. So what civs do I think they're going to go for? I think Ghost is going to want something along the lines of either Malay or Armenians for migration. Arena, there's a lot of good civs that he can go for, but could be something like Burgundians or Spanish, depending on what kind of style he wants to go for on that. Lakenther probably wants to get something along the lines of Magyars, or some other civs that can do some very good aggression on uh, Land Madness. And we're going to see the Mongols, Italians banned from Ghost Rider. Chinese is first banned for Lakenther. Chinese is a very strong civ. Bohemians as well. Doesn't want to deal with the late game bomber cannons from them, the Hoofnies. And also going to ban Persians. Yeah, that was rather interesting to me as well, Javesty. I was expecting him to leave High Tides in, but maybe just doesn't want to deal with Lakenther's playstyle in there. And Ghost Rider is going to first pick Armenians. If Armenians go through, I almost guarantee you it's going to be played on Migration. They are an excellent Migration civ, and Ghost Rider really enjoys them there. Lakenther likes his forward archer ranges, so if I remember correctly. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Lakenther who really likes his I agree. I do actually prefer Malay over Armenians, but I, I think you can have him as a secondary pick because Malay are also very good on Arena. Yeah, but sometimes you want to put a different civ as your first pick because it's because there's snipes. So after the first three picks, there's a snipe. So sometimes you want to put your second favorite civ first. So you still want a civ that you really want to be first picked, but then you go with your actual preferred civs in the back here, just to try to avoid the snipe. But I'm also not sure like how comfortable Ghost Rider is with the faster advancing bonus. Because if you're not comfortable with it, it can do more damage to you than it is, but it isn't. Because you don't forget, you also have your ban as well. Ghost Rider loves the woo. I also saw Vikings before I switched over. Um, now I'm confused about what his draft is. Now he's confusing me. Uh, yeah, he sees migration. Because none of these other maps have water. Uh, yeah, so far Lakenther has a much better draft. I think it'll be Koreans or Portuguese sniped. No, it'll be mutual first bans. Yeah, but you have to. Yeah, Portuguese is probably the best one there to snipe. All Koreans is also very high there because Koreans also can also do arena and land madness and sorry, not land madness, but migration. Ethiopians for Ghost Rider. What is Ghost Draft? It should also be noted that Lakenther likes to go forward archery ranges. I do kind of Spanish as well for Lakenther. Like Lakenther's draft is very scary right now. I almost guarantee you Spanish is for arena, and that's it, because the main thing Lakenther goes for is the forward archery ranges into archers and then crossbows. Spanish not having crossbows kind of puts a damper on that, so probably for the conquistadors and a castle, but that can also be very predictable. And there's the Malay pick for Lakenther. Like Lakenther's draft is amazing right now. Vietnamese for Ghost. Vietnamese is probably one of the best civs Ghost Rider has right now. Could still go for a civ like Bengalis, which Romans. Okay. I guess Ghost Rider wants to go man at arm. I'm just trying to figure out what he's going on each, like what he's going to be playing on each map. Like Vietnamese is probably for African clearing. That just makes sense. But everything else is either Wu or Vikings for migration. Probably Vikings. Now 2P for Lakenther. This is just a very good civ draft for Lakenther. Meanwhile, Ghost looks like he wants to play a lot of man at arm. And finally, the Huns. And it will be Bengalis as the last pick for Ghost Rider. Alright, now I have to try and pick where they play each civ. Migration, I'm guessing Vikings. So, Migration Vikings. After clearing should be Vietnamese. I'll say Ethiopians on Arena just to please Javesty. Romans for Arabia. And Wu for Land Madness. For Lakenther, after clearing, I think it's Koreans or Spanish. I'll go Koreans. Land Madness will be. I'll say 2B. Fire Archers on Arena, that'd be actually pretty good. Portuguese for Migration. Spanish for Arena. Actually, no. Malay for Migration for Lakenther. Portuguese would be for Arabia or Land Madness. Spanish is for Arena, and I think that's it. Either way, let's see if they started yet. 2B for African clearing? Yeah, that makes sense. Now I'm just waiting for the lobby at this point. But yeah, we'll see how good my guesses were. It's very hard to pick out for Ghost, I think. Actually, I think both are hard to pick out, which is good, but I do think that Ghost's draft is just much stronger. Sorry, Ghost draft is weaker. Lacanther's is stronger. Because I think Lacanther just has like better civs for most maps. But we'll see. We shall see. Just waiting for the players to create the lobby. Yeah, the easier game plans for Lacanther at the very least. Oh, they have the lobby now. They have not yet selected civs. Or rather, the civ picks are hidden, so I can't see them in the first place. But yeah, just waiting for them to start at this point. So how's everybody in chat doing? There's not very many of you, but since I lost half my players to go play, half my viewers to go play. Just waiting for them to start. Oh, they started. I say yes, download the content. Now, we still have another minute and a half before they actually begin. But I will change the view over to Capture Age regardless. Make sure that the logo is in place. I'm not too sure if it is or not, to be honest. I would not be surprised because Ghost has been playing in the same division roughly for as far as Elo goes for a while, so it might be. I feel like Ghost. Yeah, that's the thing is how much pressure does Ghost put on himself? Because Ghost's main weakness is the pressure he'll put on himself as he goes through a tournament. His mentals slowly get worse. I feel. But at the same time, if he gets a victory on the first map, that could solve the mental issues. Because honestly, the biggest pressure is always game one, I find, because oftentimes it is what determines the overall victor. Because you're going to be favored on your home maps, not only on their home maps, so getting the neutral map matters a lot, I feel like. You've never seen him break down? Yeah, never. Not at all. One of the most ironclad mentals you'll ever see, especially when facing man at arms. But yeah, so it'll mostly. I think this matchup mostly comes down to. Oh, and we've begun. This matchup mostly comes down to how well do we defend from the archers from Lakather. But with that being said, my prediction for Afrin clearing at the very least was correct, in that it will be Vietnamese from Ghost versus Lakanther. I'm actually going to change Lakanther to red because I prefer the cyan coloration. So it will be red versus cyan for this match. And Ghost is going to have 3 villagers on his TC faster. Thank you. My color taste is impeccable. The one TC 50. So Lakather started his TC faster than Ghost did, but Ghost managed to get all his villagers onto his TC before Lakather did. So I think Ghost's TC is going to go up a bit faster. Like I said, I'm pretty sure 2-piece is going to be for Arabia. I don't think it's Huns. I think he plays 2-piece over Huns. It'd be funny if he played 2P on Land Madness, just to make us be very wrong. But both players are going to be on the Shorefish. No, Lakather is not a Phosphor player. He loves his double forward range. 2 archer ranges forward. So one of the things that, and I'm pretty sure he played 2P last set he played. For a very solid victory on Arabia. Now, unfortunately for this map, it's spawned the bush pigs, so there's less food on the boars. There's only 300 food on each, rather than the 340 you find on normal boars. But very nice TC spot for Lakanther. Nestled away in the corner, has the shorefish, but unfortunately not very much shorefish nearby. The next pawns are a fair distance away, so he only really has these 4 to work with, but he does have the hunt in this corner, a bush pig, but food is not the greatest in this corner, but you trade that off for getting very easy access to the wood, decent gold, decent stone. So not too bad. Yeah, the scare factor with a 2P is very strong, mainly because of that phosphor. But I feel like Ghost has actually watched not only just my cast, but probably the games himself on his own time, and will likely know at this point that Lakather heavily favors double archery play, or archer range play. So I expect it to be expected on Ghost's part for what he's having to deal with, and that might be a large part of the reason why he's chosen some very good man-at-arms civs to try to pressure Lacanther's base, where he's not going to have defensive army. Ghost is going to walk a pretty solid amount of distance to this wood line. It's very good for long-term wood eco, but it kind of hurts his short-term. Is going to get this bush pig. Is saving the one next to his TC. So, very strong that. And as stated, we already have all the local food for Lacanther being gathered. So, we are going to go outside and try to get this fish. It is a good, decent walk away, so not the most efficient to get villagers there in the first place, but very efficient once they are there. Ghost has this pond that's much closer by that he can grab, and is actually going to grab yet another bush pig. So this is probably going to be a fast castle, I imagine, with how much hunt he is gathering. Is going to use the sheep to block. But we'll have 4 bush pigs total brought in. So far, just the one for Lacanther. There is another one actually nearby his mill, so he could get that relatively easily. But actually, no, it's not going to be a fast castle play, it's going to be a fast feudal. And we're going to transition more to wood as we go up. Now, we might be a little bit slow to the barracks if we are going to go for pressure. And Lacanther is going to stone, so we're going to try to go for a unique unit play. Or towers, but we're a bit too far away for towers, I think. So, most likely we're going to be seeing some wagon play from the player in the red. And we're actually going to go for another mill. This is actually going to leave Lacanther really wide open for against scout play if that is what Ghost ends up going for. Yeah, we do need to drop our barracks very soon if we do want to continue with this idea of feudal play. Have enough wood for it, and we will drop it with these two. So our barracks is going to be a little bit late, but not too bad. Lacanther with 5 on stone. Lacanther also might end up a little bit short on wood for his buildings. Archery range. You see this distance and you go archery range. No! We're also not even on gold. Now, we skipped loom, but we're not on gold. If we ever find this, this dies really hard. But I'm not a fan of the archery range that Ghost is going for. Now, the spear I do like, just for a bit of extra scouting. And we do see the outpost in for Lacanther. I imagine these vills will shift over to this bush pig in relative short order. Market going down for Lacanther, but as I suspected, he does not have the wood quite yet for the blacksmith. It's easy to wall, but only if you have the wood to do the walling. And is Ghost Ghost does spot the stone. Will he go to it? He is going to go to it. But we already have the stone for the castle. But what we don't have is the gold for Castle Age. We also don't have the food either, so... As much as this is a bit scuffed on Ghost's part, this is... Oh, and the tower's gonna go down. Where are we going, Ghost? Now this tower will allow Lacanther to go back onto stone, and was able to buy and sell to go up. Is there a hole? No, there isn't. But Ghost Rider will be slow to the next age and isn't punishing this food. But is up to next age. And at this point, because we had to sell stone to go up and build this tower, we are able to harass this stone pile from this hill. And we aren't on gold yet, and we don't have anything protecting gold yet. Now, we can build a castle to do so, but we're actually going to have to go on stone in a different area of the map to continue. Blacksmith coming up. And Lacanther's not the only person on stone. Ghost heavy on stone as well. Gonna go for the Rattans. The trade between Rattans and the Korean war wagons is relatively similar, but the Rattans are much cheaper. So their mobility is even actually very similar as well, because war wagons are actually relatively slow as far as CA goes. Automatic upgrade for the guard tower. Very strong bonus for Lacanther. And I don't like that castle. Honestly, just have these vills on this wood line. Build the castle with these vills on this gold. This allows for a bit of damage that is kind of unnecessary. And we have enough stone for our castle now. Honestly, just a nice a nice wall off on this wood line, and the castle. I would rather this be on the gold, but I suppose it's going to be good enough. But the weakness of this castle is that these archers can still kind of range that gold. Because we can just sit our archers right here and still harass that gold really well. But our pressure will go down as the war wagon comes out. Rat and production has begun, but we have a bunch of villagers standing around doing nothing right now. They're going to build some farms. Main thing is that Ghost needs a good production of Rattans, because you still need more Rattans than the Koreans have war wagons. And we're going to go for a very early siege workshop as well for Lacanther. So very much a macro versus micro type of play we're going to see most likely. Would like to see more Rattans being made, but we just don't have the wood, because we're going for a mangonel. If these villagers go towards the wood line, this is probably a bit better. But we're going to try and get another castle, I think, for Ghost Rider. Still being quite heavy on stone. And we still only have fletching in for Lacanther, so only fletching for Ghost as well, for that matter. But Ghost needs more numbers than the Koreans do to take the fight. But Ghost also has much better eco upgrades, having both first charm upgrade and dull bit. just needs to get more on wood in order to keep good production of both siege and Rattans. But I do like how the Rattans are moving forward. Disregard that, they're coming back. Infamous Ghost Micro. And that, well, we lose both the villager and the siege, but that's fine since we're not having to worry about the siege push anymore. We still need more Rattans though. Rattans are a very good unit, but we're gonna make sure we place that Mangonel as soon as possible. Bodkin is in for red though, and it is not yet in for ghost, so the one extra range that these Rattans have is not actually in play right now. And we really want a castle, but we don't. Oh, I don't like this. This is not good for Ghost. This is why the castle had to be on the gold. And Ghost is gonna call it. Unfortunately, I don't think we saw the commitment that Ghost really needed to have into the army. We got the stone, but our castle's in a bad spot. And we lost the initiative, unfortunately. Unfortunate first game for Ghost, because I think this was very winnable. I just think he had to go much heavier into Rattans, because even though War Wagons are typically viewed as anti-archer, the Rattans are much better at that role. Like, they have the base Pierce armor of 4, which the War Wagons are at right now, but Ghost hasn't gotten a single armor upgrade yet. Like, these things go up to plus 6, like, they go to 6 Pierce in Castle Age. So, very strong. Yes, Ghost Rider will be completely unaffected by any mental this set. But we are going to go back to the draft. Vietnamese loss versus Koreans. Now, the good thing for Ghost is that this was a later pick for him, so it's not as big of a deal to lose it. Now, losing the first map does hurt, but it is possible that Ghost feels confident on one of these maps, or at least confident enough to put up a good fight. Yeah. That's the thing, is that Ghost's strength I don't think is the land side of things, it's the water. Water is his biggest strength, to be honest. So, but he is still good on the land maps. So, I'm hoping that this will be a very good series regardless. And we're going to see Arena up next. And oh my god. Give me a moment. Let me just say this, Javisty. You're going to be very happy with the Civ matchup. Because Ghost Rider has indeed gone Ethiopians. So we very well may be seeing the Shotels, the siege towers into Shotel, and we are against the Portuguese. So he played Shotels versus Organ Guns the other day already. Oh wow, he has prepped this as much as can be prepped then. So very interesting that it is going to be Showtells, because he was trying to defend and get to late game with torsion engines. Honestly, that makes more sense. But come on, it's gotta be Showtells with a siege tower. Although knowing Ghost, it will probably be more for the torsion engines. But with Ghost Micro, that could still be rough. Although Ghost Micro is mostly going and diving the enemy without shooting them normally. But we'll see. I am curious what Lackner goes for as Portuguese here. Because you can go for the Monk Rush, you can go for the late game with their gunpowder tracking. You can go for organs. Organs aren't great in Castle Age, but you can still go for them. Supported with monks, they can still be difficult to deal with. But it should be a pretty good smash, and I would still favor Ghost here. Also, Ghost didn't stay in Cyan, so I'm upset with him. But it should be a relatively slow game towards Castle Age at the very least, as Arena tends to be. I don't foresee either of these civs going for a tower rush, so... Although, Jevsy, you're the expert for Ethiopians. Can Ethiopians do a tower rush pretty well? I mean, you get the extra res. Have some really good archers if you ever get in. This is the finals. Third place has already been cast. So this is the finals. So you're looking at first and second, regardless. And actually, I'll make sure that it shows in the scoreboard that Lacanther took game 1. But right now we're just going through a very standard Dark Age for Arena. Nothing too interesting happening yet. No super weird builds or anything like that. Just standard Arena openings for both. And I think it's going to be going towards a fast castle for both as well. Looks like it's going to be at least 25 pop for Lacanther, and probably a 24 pop for Ghost. With, I imagine, these last two builds going towards gold. Oh yeah, that's true. With Ethiopians, you don't have to go to gold at all. I forget about that sometimes. Ghost is going to stone. It's a slow, fast castle, but maybe it's a slow, fast castle because we want all this. And let's face it, I don't think Lacanther is going to expect this coming at all. Because we are going to go 24 pop for Ghost. But unfortunately, it looks like Lacanther is also going for a castle. Which is not good for if you're going Showtails versus Organs. Yeah, apparently. Because that's pretty bad. could actually, yeah, that is true because he might be slow to the castle because of it. There's also the question of where are we placing the castles? Are we going forward? Or are we just gonna hop the wall with a siege tower? Or are we gonna break through it with rams? That's the thing, is that the organs are actually not great versus rams. They're not terrible, but they're not super great either. So, Ghost obviously hit first and is going to drop a Market Blacksmith. We'll be able to click up with what should be a perfect Castle Age timing. Sorry, 1 second off for the Castle Age timing for Ghost. Loom coming in for Lakanther. This is probably a forward castle for Lakanther then. That or he just got Loom for some reason. So, Ghost should be going to stone with most of these villagers once this cow is finished being eaten. At least that's how I normally time. Good build apart from Loom, yeah. Ghost getting eco upgrades. Cow is depleted and we're gone to the wood line. And to the stone though. Ghost Rider does have very clean builds. But this doesn't feel like there's enough to stone for a castle. Whereas this is 100% a castle for Lakanther. Yeah, defensive castle makes sense, but we're still going to not have it right away. So, probably a boom then with a defensive castle. Yeah, and this is going to be a forward castle. And it will be a boom from Ghost. Now, good news for Ghost is that because it's Portuguese forward castle, and we do scout it with the villas killing the scout, we're able to just drop one siege workshop, and we can have a mangonel, and that'll help defend us really well. Yeah, 30C is very ambitious. But we do have 7 on stone now. We can also buy and sell to go for the castle a bit faster. Mangonel micro against organs is you click it there, and it just makes sure it doesn't go into the castle range, and it does, and you'll kill them. Thankfully, the micro is almost non-existent for mangonels versus organs. But it's going to be close. Well, yeah, that is true. It is still Ghost Rider's micro. And this will be supported by monks, so the castle is going to be instrumental. But castle here does really well on defense, and we are almost to the castle. But there's already an organ out. Only just barely enough for the castle, and we're going to slam it up as fast as we can. This should go up. There's only 2 organs, but the spread shots make it so that they hit lots of villas at the same time, so This is gonna be a very important moment in the game. And castle will go up. And we don't even lose a bill for it. One organ does go down, and this organ can be annoying behind the wood line if it wants to be. So now we have the decision from Blackanther of, do we go for Imp? Which I think is the only play that makes a lot of sense for Blackanther, is make his way towards Imp and try to win that way. Whereas for Ghost, we can go for the Ram push, because again, these organs are not great against Rams. And it is going to be Rams, which I do actually quite like. These are your walls. You can just delete them to get good access to this castle. And there's only so many villas forward. But we are building more organs for Blackanther, which is not the play you would go for if you were going for that fast M. Now, thankfully, with how quickly show tells create, you don't actually have to start production of them right away. You can hold off a bit to get better eco. But the Rams being started right away is very important. Also, having this gold deep in his base is very strong for Ghost Rider. That is the unfortunate part with the positioning. But at the very least, he won't have to deal with his own walls when he goes to attack the castle. Redemption is in, which is very annoying for Ghost. But we're just gonna garrison our stuff and move in, because the monks have a very hard time against Rams for converting, especially Rams filled with Shodels. Ghost? Ghost just taxiing around past. Standard Ghost micro. I'd honestly retreat at this point. Ghost, where are you going? Where are you going, Ghost? That was not the greatest. Ghost micro! I don't understand what these Rams are doing. I get using that to chase off this, but why are we out here? He is buying a lot of time, and by buying time he is getting more resources, but the army lead for Blackanther is massive. And we really need those Rams alive. Because Rams are the bottleneck. Because, yeah, you can create shuttles super quickly. That's easy. But getting the Rams, because you need another Ram. Because now there's going to be mangonels. Getting some good kills on these monks, but like I said, we need the 2 Rams, not the 1. We need 2 filled Rams. Same thing, Mango is very nice, but we really need 2 filled Rams to deal with this. Because now this is going to push in, and that's why we need the Rams, because the organs instantly delete our Shodels. And now we're rushing again. Like, we're not waiting. Like, we need to wait. You need to calm down. Getting squires now. Okay, good. He is building a bunch of houses in the back as he loses them on the front. And this time we are going to wait for the rams. Now we need to make sure that we get both these rams filled before we... And Lackander is up to the Imperial Age. But Lackander only has the one Mangonel, which is in a vulnerable position. Ghost Rider is going to be housed. These rams are going to be slow if they move in a group because they don't have the shuttles in them. We're going to get handcart. Rebuilding the market. Just retreat the rams. Honestly, keeping everything alive is more important for Ghost than just about anything else. Unfortunately, he does not keep anything alive. Ghost also on the way up to the Imperial Age now. University going down in the back. Is there a university for... There is no university for the Portuguese, so it will just be Trebs. Yeah, Ghost KD is classic. Archers! Why are we going archers? Archers are not good versus organ guns. To be fair, none of what we're making is good against them necessarily, other than the rams. But I do like Chipmunk's idea of ignoring the army and like not having one of these empty slows down everything, unfortunately. But it looks like he separated them out. Nope, no, he's joined them back together to make them slow again, and we're just going to lose them out here for nothing. Ghost! Ghost, drop the one ram that has nobody in it. And he loses everything. Okay, so Ghost transitioning heavily into archers. Hopefully they will save him. We have no stone to repair this castle, so it will go down. Bracer will be in for Ghost. Can 15 archers with Bracer kill this? Oh. The Mangonels were caught out of position by the Shotels. And do not go down. We're trying to use the one extra range we have to micro down some of the organs. Chemistry now coming in. But it's Ghost. And this is why I didn't think archers were good. Unfortunately, I think Ghost is dead. I think Ghost is, at this point, very, very dead. No army he's made has survived any contact with these orc guns. And he calls it. Yeah. That's a painful one. That is unfortunately a rather painful one. And we'll move back over to the draft to mark down Ghost's loss there with the Ethiopians versus the Portuguese. I do hope Ghost goes to migration now, because I do think he is heavily favored on that map. Yes, I think we do kind of have to pretend that game didn't exist, especially for Ghost. Looks like Lathander has to go to the bathroom, so there's going to be about a 2-minute break. So I think Ghost should use the Woo on this map. Well, if he goes to migration, at least. Either Woo or Vikings. Both are very good there. I think Vikings should be used there, because I think Woo are stronger on the land maps. Oh yeah, this is live. We are seeing Ghost Micro in real time. But yeah, Ghost should go to migration. It is his best map for sure, and one that I expect he will win on. Yes, that was classic Ghost, with the going straight in front of the organs to be absolutely shredded, rather than hanging back to try and pick them off with micro, or from a distance with the range advantage that you have with our Blessed, which is the one advantage they do have against the organs that do have the extra range. But against those kinds of numbers, it's just not great. And I do think that Ghost actually just had to make a mangonel or two. Like, make the rams, that way you can get in on top of the monks to kill the monks. But behind that, have the mangonel. That way, you go in, you take a bunch of damage, you're going to lose your army, whatever. But as long as you get the monks, your mangonel is going to clear out the organs. And it clears them out really quickly. I think that's how he should have played that, but that's a lot of effort and a lot of thinking, like, while you're under a lot of pressure. Thanks, Chipmunk. This was a really good tournament overall. Happy with both the casting of Div C as well as how things went for me in Div D. But it looks like they've started, and Ghost has opted to go to Land Madness. So switch things over to Capture Age and get ready for Land Madness in about 30 seconds. So that's the second game for Lacanther. Just should start very shortly. Also, it feels like forever when you're just waiting, even though it's not really that long. And there it goes. And it is actually going to be the Huns here. So Huns for Lakanther, and it will be the Wu for Ghost Rider. Now, I do sincerely hope that how Ghost lost that last game doesn't affect him too badly for this game, as the Wu are very good against Lakanther's preferred style of playing land maps with the forward archery ranges, but you do have to get a castle age in order to make them. So, don't you normally start with 2 berry bushes near your TC? Oh well. It's fair, both players are suffering from this. Also, this version you can wall to the edge of the map, it looks like. Oh, Ghost. Ghost didn't have the food underneath his TC for a bit. That's painful. Hopefully he brings in the next one before he runs out of food on it. Or this could be a very quick game to tilt. I think this is going to be a very quick game to tilt. This pig's coming. Okay, that's good. Okay, we're just going to go to the fruit bush. Okay, that's... Okay. We still have food. We are still gathering food. 3 to wood for Ghost so far. 3 to wood for Lakanther as well. Deer push is going well for Ghost. Deer seems to be a bit closer for Lakanther since we're already pushing our last deer from that pile. Going to grab our last sheep for Ghost. And then start pushing in some more deer. But we still haven't pushed in the close deer for Ghost yet. Got one from a couple piles that were a bit further away. Actually currently doing a double push. But is going to just focus on one. So just the one deer from that pile coming in now. And is going to go get the boar for himself now as well. Boar already in for Lakanther. And mill for Ghost now. Easy lure. And we're just going to slowly work our way towards the feudal age. As far as what I'm expecting to see, I'm expecting Lakanther to do his double archer range shenanigans. So I expect them both to be forward, probably around here, maybe even a bit more forward. I'm not quite sure what Ghost is going to go for. I assume he does know about Lakanther's playstyle, and will likely want to go for skirms of some sort. Be that scouts and skirms, or just straight skirm. Maybe even man-at-arms skirm. But I do think against Lakanther, you do have to ready yourself to play with a lot of skirmishers. As he doesn't go for cavalry too much for the opening at the very least. But I'm not seeing any villagers forward for Lakanther, so... But we do see gold now. And that's because we're going to go for some militia. So, a bit of a man-at-arm play for Lakanther. Mixing things up. Ghost Rider is not going to gold, so this is most likely going to be scouts. Nope, it's going to be more archer. It's going to be archer play. We're going to gold now. Good eco balance for him so far. Militia coming across the field now. Maybe seen by Ghost. Ghost has no scouting on the opponent so far. And will not see those militia. No follow-up yet for Lecter. Archer range now. And it's actually going to be from home, so militia are going to get one Vil. Now Man-at-Arm will clear one Vil. And it's going to be double archer range for Ghost Rider. Maybe 2 Vils go down to this. 2 Vils do go down to this. So minus 2 Vils for Ghost. I don't, and Ghost is just going to call it right away. Unfortunately, the mentals were a little bit weak for Ghost that one, but that's going to be our finals. It is, but Ghost, the whole set was over when I made that castle for no reason game 1. The only thing I criticized for that castle, the castle was fine, because Rans actually do fine against Korean war wagons, actually, is where you put it. If you put it on the gold, you're in a much better situation, because he doesn't get the pressure later on. But I'm not too surprised with this one. I think you are heavily favored on the land maps. It is a bit early, yes, but I do also understand it with how the first 2 games went. But with that being the case, GG's to both players. Game 2 was actually very entertaining. Game 1 was also pretty good as well. This one's on the short side, but good to see the map. Yeah, that's fair. You did a great job with your pressure. You had some you had lots of organs. You had redemption on your monks pretty early on in case of any mangonels. I think the ram shoulder defense was pretty good. It actually prevented a lot of damage from happening. Unfortunately, I think we just lost too much army, especially when it came to the rams. And I think we needed like 1 or 2 mangonels in behind our rams to really push back the organs for Ghost. But either way, it was a pretty good set. Just gonna switch over towards the browser just to put the last touch on it with a victory for Lacanthura on Land Madness, and unfortunately Wu being defeated by the Huns. But yeah, even in draft, I thought Lacanthura had a better draft than Ghost did. So yeah, it was a pretty good set, even if it was short. So that's going to be all for me. As I said, I am going to finish off casting the rest of Div C, but it will be after I return in about 2 weeks. So it will be a little bit before my next cast for AoE Leagues, but it will still happen. But yeah. With that, I need to find somebody to raid. Okay. Who is streaming right now? We have a bunch of simulcasts. The anybody got any ideas for who to raid? I am open to suggestions. Because unfortunately, I don't really see too many other than the simulcasts going on right now. If nobody has any suggestions, I'm probably just gonna send it into T90. Just honestly, because I don't really have anybody else who's better. Alright. I'll give a final little bit just for any suggestions. And since I don't see anything, I'm just gonna start putting in T90 official. Make sure I spell it right. Alright. Well, let's go watch some of the Brazilian land. Yeah, there's not really much else going on, unfortunately, so we'll read it into T90's stream. That way there's a bunch of other chatters you guys can talk to. But other than that, you guys have a nice day. Bye.
It's solid overall, right? It was just another day in the office for Leary.
Yeah, and here we have Leary scouting that barracks early on, and so crucial, just like that first game where he scouted